Moim Państwa gościem dzisiaj jest serialowy Rolo z Wikingów. Hey, how are you doing?
I'm really good, thank you.
There is a rumor that Vikings are fearless. Are you fearless?
No, you'd be silly to be fearless. I think it's quite good. I think fear is sometimes our body's way of getting ready. So I think you'd be, even Rollo's not fearless. He has to take magic mushrooms to get into a fit of red rage where he can't feel any pain to get as close as he can to being fearless. I think if the real warrior should walk into every room and think that maybe something might be behind the door.
And what is your greatest fear?
My greatest fear. I was talking about this the other day. I think wasps are my greatest fear.
Really?
I was doing a fight scene the other day, and I was running around because I had fake blood all over me. These wasps just wouldn't leave me alone. I was like, "Row, row, row." And the character in question was like, "Oh, next time I should have just brought a band of wasps and scare Rollo off." But yeah.
This show is.
No, my biggest fear, I suppose, is my biggest fear is probably actually. No, that doesn't matter.
Well, come on.
I was about to get really deep with you. I was like, well, we started off on such a fun level. I was about to say my biggest fear is probably my children dying before me.
Damn, I had the same.
I know, and I suddenly just went, that's horrible.
Okay, we're going back from there.
Let's get back to have some fun again.
Yeah, let's jump to the series. What did you learn about Vikings, actually? Because this series is part history. So what did you learn about this tribe?
Well, I've kind of immersed myself in Viking history now that I can become like this weird Viking almanac of knowledge. I mean, I'd be brilliant on a pub quiz. But everything about them, it's really, I had an opinion before that I got this job, and I sat with Michael Hurst, our writer, and he gave me a few books to start me off, and the more research I did, I realised I knew nothing about Vikings, and I don't think many people do, because our opinion is formulated from a lot of propaganda at the time. There's a lot of Christian monks writing about the Vikings, and it really is a case of history is recorded by the invaded. Usually history is recorded by the invaders, and they set that legacy. But the Vikings were very illiterate. They didn't write anything down, and a lot of what we know about the Vikings comes from their artifacts and their runic stones. And just things that we've found, and you have to go to Scandinavia to start listening to the sagas that they passed down from many years. Historians were writing 400 years after the event, so there's
so
not a lot
you
of
went
truth
there,
in that.
you heard all the rumors, the legends.
It's just that you have to really go and just explore this from the inside out. To get a truthful perception of the Vikings, because they never really have been portrayed on screen as at the forefront of a story. It's always been the hired help, and even the horned helmets that we associate with Vikings comes from the Victorian era. It was Wagner's operas that used that. These Valkyrie women with big ladies with their horned helmets. So none of it's true. So I feel it's a big privilege to be able to be in a show and actually almost give this race of people a chance to be more understood and less misrepresented.
But you are really for Vikings right now, so what? Your favorite character from Marvel is Thor right now, or you put some boundaries and...
I don't know, but the thing is, I'm not trying to skirt over the fact that the Vikings did some of these really questionable things. They did go to other people's countries, they did colonize, they did raid, but it's just history has got two sides to everything, and I think the more that I research, I just love the belief system and the gods they worshipped. It's just fantastical. They believed that there was a wolf called Fenrir that would swallow up the sun on the end of all things, and their god Odin would fight this wolf, and Jormungandr, the serpent that would wrap itself around the world and bite its own tail.
The whole Asgard, it's a whole other planet.
Yeah, I mean, just Asgard was just one world. There was Asgard where the gods lived, Midgard where the humans lived, and Utgard where all things like the frost giants and dwarfs and things would live.
And Loki.
And it was all connected by one tree called Yggdrasil. And Yggdrasil was the tree of life. And at the top of the tree of life, they believed there was an eagle, and the eagle would flap its wings. And every time the eagle flapped its wings, it was the breeze in the air. And it's amazing when you start learning about paganism, and you start looking and you see a raven looking back at you, and you believe that it's Odin looking. You can very quickly believe how they would see.
I will stop you now. You can go to university, have your own lecture, going to the students like, "Hello, today we're talking about Asgard." You got me there. Yeah. But when you received this first script for the pilot episode, you really believe that it will be a major success? Because before that, there was Tudors. After that, there was Spartacus.
Yeah.
So it was like the third, I don't know, brother, sister, because the story is nearly the same, but the characters are totally different.
Well, you know, it was funny actually. I remember sitting down with Gustav Skarsgård about halfway through filming season 1, and you know, we hadn't shared any of the footage with anybody, and we just sat down and went, "This is pretty good. This is amazing." And Michael Hirst is one of the keys to success. His writing is fantastic. Nothing like Spartacus. You know, Spartacus is a kind of popcorn TV. It's not really a historical drama
Bloody.
at all, and it's bloody and gratuitous. And you know, Vikings has amazingly strong female characters. Spartacus doesn't. You know, it's one of the keys to the success of the show, and he's got the writing and the characters got so much integrity behind them, and it's an historical drama as well. But yet, like I said, it seems to be in the realms of fantasy as well, with the gods that they believed in, and I think it's really broke a lot of genre barriers, and it has a massive demographic of people that have found this show. But yeah, we didn't know it was going to be a success. I think it just felt like we were in something quite special.
Yeah, that's what you bring up that I actually forgot, that Vikings is teaching people that Vikings are not only men, they're also women in the boats actually fighting. Because what we know about them from, I don't know, Asterix and Obelix or any other cartoons, they're only big men with big beards.
Yeah, and just drink ale and
were you surprised when they told you that they're not only men
and there's
fighting?
far more equality in Viking culture than there is in some of the countries in the 21st century. Women were allowed to fight alongside their men, and shield maidens had a place in the battle, and a woman was allowed to divorce their husband, which is still in some of the countries around the world you can't do that. So I just it brings in other audiences that I don't think we ever really imagined that would be watching it. It's a historical show as well, so it's not like any other period drama out there. It's not like Downton Abbey or Pride and Prejudice, and it's because of what the Vikings achieved in history. It's full of action and adventure and intrigue, and they were the Da Vincis of their day. They invented boats to sail across the ocean that no other civilization had. They used the sun, and they had a sun shadow board and the sunstone to navigate across the sea, and the world never saw them coming.
Yeah, they discovered America before Columbus.
500 years before Christopher Columbus.
What can we expect after third season? Because it will be premiering soon in Poland.
After the third season, you leave Rollo in Paris. He seems like he's made a deal with the King of France to protect the shores of Paris and beyond, away from the Northmen. But I think Rollo's forgotten that the last time the people of France saw him, he was a crazy bear, slamming and smashing into the Frankish soldiers and killing everything in his path, and they're terrified of him. So it's going to be an uphill struggle for him to be able to get them on his side. I mean, he can't even speak the language. I mean, at the end of season 3, when you see him in front of Gisela, he has no idea what he's letting himself in for. And if the people of France are an uphill struggle, then Gisela is a mountain. She hates everything Viking, everything pagan, and she's being forced into an arranged marriage by her father. It's going to be interesting to see the relationship between Princess Gisela and Rollo. She's a fantastic actress, Morgan Polanski. She's you would never believe that this is one of her first jobs straight out of drama school. She has got such a wise head on her shoulders and is fearless.
Well, she has a wise father that is a very good director, so
she
probably.
Does, but in her own right, I mean, you can't take that away from her.
No, I'm not, but still.
You see some of the scenes that she does in season 4, and it's just a joy doing, acting with her. It's fantastic.
And tell me, what do you see for an end for your character? How do you want his part to play in the end of the series? Because the end of the series has to come sometime. So you want him to die with a glory battle, or be an old guy looking for his grandchildren or grandchildren?
Well, he's a real guy. He lived in history, and his death was recorded in the history books. So I kind of don't want to really say, because it's a spoiler in itself. If you want to know how Rollo goes, then it's in the history books. I kind of know how he's going to die.
Right.
Whether it happens in the season or the series, who knows? Whether it's in season 4. So there's a reason why they've given me time off to come and talk to you. Maybe it's happened already. I don't know.
And how it is to have a beard all year long? Because I can understand that you cannot shave it anywhere you want.
Well, this is season 4. This is the.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not allowed to grow it anymore. I mean, at the end of season 3, it was gigantic, and I wanted to keep growing it. And then when Michael Hurst wrote the scripts for season 4, and he was like, "You don't need to this season," which is a spoiler in itself. So yeah, I like having a beard. I really do. It does get to that stage though when it gets really long. It's not there now, but you start to actually find little bits of food or things that were there from the morning, and you feel you're constantly brushing out and cleaning it.
I was expecting your wife to saying like, I want to see you clean. One time.
Well, she complains about the different lengths of a beard. You know, there's always that stage where it's like stubble rash and it hurts to kiss me, and then it goes past that and it's kind of like, oh, kind eye, soft beard, and then it goes past that even more and it's kind of like having, I don't know, like a bush growing on your face. And
I'm really curious how your kids are reacting when they're coming to the school saying like, my father is a Viking.
Yeah, my little one, who's 5, does, and I still remember the first day when he must have been 2.5 or something when I first had my my hair and makeup test for Vikings. So I came home. I went to work with hair just past my ears, and I came home from work with hair down to my boobs, and he just was like, that is a girl, was that daddy or mummy? And he was just completely confused. He couldn't understand how someone could grow hair that quickly. But yeah, he does. He now has to get confused. He thinks daddy's a Viking. So there's a funny story actually when I took him to set because he was getting a little bit worried that daddy was a barbarian for a living. I took him to set and they were great with him. The crew kind of got him. They made him a special rubber axe that he could fight around with, and then they took him to the makeup department where we have vats, a bit like a set from Breaking Bad, these big vats of fake blood. And a lot of them taste of either mint or sugar, and they're sweet, and we get and taste the blood, so we realised it wasn't real blood.
Or he said, I'm a vampire right now.
Yeah. So then this picture to promote season 3 comes out, and I got my top off and I'm covered in blood with my long hair and an axe, and now I'm convinced that my little son thinks I go to work and cover myself in sweets. And he probably thinks I'm a stripper. I don't know.
Or a tooth fairy, you know, like sweet tooth. I saw yesterday when you arrived from the Warsaw airport, girls throwing themselves at you. How you react on such a thing, like, come straight home?
Yeah. Well, I was flattered, actually. I mean, you know, we film in the middle of nowhere, and we don't really get any feedback face-to-face with the fans until we do press like this.
Or Comic-Cons.
And Comic-Cons, yeah, which is the best way to kind of to see if people are watching the show. So I was just really flattered and flabbergasted that people had kind of turned out at the airport to come and say hello to little old me. But no, and you know what, the fans are so respectful and they're great. Yeah, we couldn't make the show without them. So, you know, I'd soon notice if they weren't there, because then you'd be like, oh, maybe there won't be a season 4. Yeah, so it's the least we can do. Is
we know
hang out
that there will be a season 4. You told me that before. You're in the middle of shooting. Don't tell people that. They start crying right now. Like, well, what did he say? No season 4?
Well, season 4 is going to be epic. It really is, because we're now dealing with the golden age of the Vikings, when the Vikings went further afield and started to try and colonise and raid and explore other lands, go up to the Mediterranean, to Iceland, down all the way through to Constantinople, to Russia, and eventually, as you said, to America. So we're now starting to get there. Our world has expanded so much that now we can let rip, and we've got hundreds of Viking boats. We've got, every time we have a battle scene, we have nearly every stuntman from Ireland and the UK kind of comes over and is in the battle, and then we make up the numbers with, we auditioned 8,000, we took 8,000 extras this season because we're doing double the episode order. So the show has become a juggernaut. It's massive, and we all have to be on the front foot and be ready for action every day because there's so much to get through. But it's just going to be so rewarding for the viewers that are going to tune in, because it's going to be kick-ass, and it's going to be something that people don't very rarely get to see in a TV show.
Alright, to jeśli chcecie zobaczyć 3. sezon Wikingów, to startuje już niebawem na History Channel.